The third question, 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4, together with Jude verse 6, concerning angels that sinned. And I've got a couple of questions up there, a few questions. Is this referring to hell? You know, they were cast into hell. It says so as much. And who put them there and why and all of that. There are actually 7 questions in total that this questioner has put out there, so I didn't have room to put them all up there. But we'll just go ahead and look at these 2 passages. They are sister passages. The book of Jude is in many ways another telling of 2 Peter chapter 2. And both of them are addressing the problems of false teachers among brethren. And the argument that's being made in both of these chapters is the fact that God can deal with these people. And He will deal with these people, just as God has dealt with the angels that sinned, as He dealt with the people in the days of Noah, as He dealt with the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. God is going to take care of the false teachers. So that's the larger context in both of these chapters. If you go ahead and read these 2 verses that are referenced here. Jude, first of all, Jude, verse 6. The angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version. They did not stay within their own position of authority, but they left their proper dwelling. He has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. And then 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4, God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. I think one of the best comments that I have read on these passages is from Adam Clarke. He was a 19th century theologian. He's commenting on 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4. And he says, the angels were originally placed in a state of probation, some having fallen and some having stood. How long that probation was to last and what was the particular test of their fidelity, we do not know, nor indeed do we know what was their sin, nor when they fell, nor how they fell. Jude says they kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, which seems to indicate that they got discontented with their lot, and they aspired unto higher honors, or perhaps to celestial domination, but we have no direct revelation on this subject. And basically what Clarke is saying is there's a lot about this we don't know. And he's right about that. And so by the time we get through with this discussion, there'll still be a lot about this we don't know. But we'll just throw that out there up front. So let's go ahead and go through a list of questions here. First of all, who is under consideration? Well, these are angels. We got that. These were angels that sinned. Now, we know from 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4, sin is a transgression of the law. Obviously, the transgression of God's law. And if we ask the question, what was God's law that they transgressed? Yeah, we don't know exactly. Again, Jude verse 6, they did not stay within their own position of authority. They left their proper dwelling. And so I think Clarke was right. They were not content with their first estate, to stay where God put them, to maintain the place and the position that God had assigned them to. So that's who is under consideration. Angels that sinned in some way by open rebellion against God's law. The second question, so where is this? Hell, in 2 Peter chapter 2, is not the familiar word Gehenna, what we would normally think of when we think of hell. That's hellfire and damnation. It's not that. That's not the word that's used here. And it is not the word Hades, which in the King James Version is often translated by the word hell. That's a Greek word that simply refers to the realm of the dead. That's not the word that's used here. The word that's used here is used here in 2 Peter chapter 2 and nowhere else in the Bible. Nowhere else. Only here. And it is the Greek word Tartarus. The Holy Spirit borrowed this word Tartarus from Greek mythology. It was to the Greeks, in their way of thinking about the afterlife, it was a reference to a realm below hell itself, sometimes described as a prison within a prison. And it seemed like the best word that the Holy Spirit could find to describe the fate of those angels who sinned. The point being, again, that God will take care of the false teachers. If he can take care of the angels who sinned against him, these false teachers not going to be a problem. So this idea of Tartarus, again, it's as best as we can understand it, is a prison within a prison. We think of Gehenna as hellfire and damnation, and to the minds of the Greeks, and apparently to the Holy Spirit, that word best describes the place where these angels who sinned are being kept. Third question in this series of questions, who put them there? 2 Peter 2, verse 4, God cast them into Tartarus. I think that answers that question easily enough. God is the one that put them there. Why did he put them there? Well, again, because they sinned. Again, Jude verse 6, they did not stay within their own position of authority, but they left their proper dwelling. There are some people that want to tie this in with Genesis chapter 6 and those who intermarried with the daughters of men and all of this. I don't think that's what's going on in Genesis chapter 6. Could possibly be. I don't know. It's all speculation. Again, there's so much we don't know about Genesis chapter 6 or the nature of how these angels left their proper place, their proper dwelling. We just don't know. I think Clark was right about that. We just don't know. The fifth question in this series, the fifth question. When did he put them there? Once again, we don't know. We just don't know. Was it before Genesis chapter 1, before the creation of the heavens and the earth? The angels were clearly present before Genesis chapter 1. Was there this rebellion before Genesis chapter 1? We don't know. Don't know. Was it sometimes after Genesis chapter 1? Don't know. Sorry. Can't help you there. Don't know when he put them there. Are they already being punished? Well, clearly they are. Again, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, chains of gloomy darkness being kept until the judgment. Well, if they're already being punished, then why the judgment? Now, you could ask the same question about you and me. I mean, the story of Lazarus and the rich man tells us that the rich man was in torments. This was even before the death of Christ, before the new covenant came into force. This was in the days of the old covenant. They have Moses and the prophets. Abraham tells the rich man, let them hear them. And so during that time, even during the old covenant age, those who sinned were in torments. And so why the judgment? Well, from other passages that we read, the judgment is not so much to find out where you're going to end up as to understand why you're going to be there. And so you see that in Matthew chapter 7, toward the close of the Sermon on the Mount. Many will say unto me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? Have we not cast out demons in your name, done many wonderful works in your name? And I will say to them, depart from me, I never knew you, because you're working lawlessness. It's more of an explanation than anything else. Or if you turn over to Matthew chapter 25, the last part of that long discourse, chapters 24 and 25, there in the Gospel of Matthew. Toward the end of chapter 25, when he talks about the shepherd separating the sheep from the goats, and the goats on the left hand and the sheep on the right hand, did you notice that the separation was made before the explanation was given? The people who were on the left hand said, why? Why did we end up here? And he said, because I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was naked, you did not clothe me. And all the way down the line. He says, because you didn't do those things for me. It's more of an explanation than anything else. And so possibly the same thing with the angels. Again, I don't know. The question was, why are they already being punished? Then what about the judgment? Well, again, yeah, you can be punished before the day of judgment. Again, the story of Lazarus and the rich man certainly makes that clear. And the final question, number 7, what is their status? Well, they're in chains. They're chained up in this prison within a prison, Tartarus. They have no hope. By the way, you can be in Hades, in the Hadean realm, and have no hope. Your time to get right with God is in this life. But the angels, certainly, who are in prison in Tartarus, they have no hope. We'll close with one passage, Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 14. We actually alluded to part of this passage in the sermon this morning. But here in Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 14, since the children share in flesh and blood, that's you and me, we have flesh and blood, he, Jesus, partook of the same. That is, he became a man, and he took upon himself flesh and blood, so that through death he might destroy the one who has the power over death, the devil, and to deliver all of those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. Talked about that this morning. We were talking about fear and how to overcome fear, even the fear of death. We did not read verse 16. Let's read it now. For surely it is not angels that he helps, but he helps the offspring of Abraham. Jesus did not die on the cross for angels, good ones or bad ones. He died on the cross for you and for me, for the children of Abraham, those who have flesh and blood. And so truly without hope. If God has a plan of salvation for the angels, I don't know about it. Again, the scriptures don't say anything about it. Our concern needs to be more focused on what God has done for us and our own salvation. So, at any rate, good question.